threat to his success or anything, and vice versa. It was just, again, a battle of wits.
South Bronx, the South Bronx.
We came out with a record dissing Shan, which was really, back then, the only way that you can really get known. I claim to be the best in the Bronx and called Shan out on his record, Queensbridge.
You love to hear the story again and again of how it all got started way back when. The monument is right in your face. Sit and listen for a while to the name of the place. The bridge.
Chris thought that I said hip-hop started in Queensbridge, but it was just in the beginning it says we're going to tell you a little story about where they come from.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got MC Shan and Molly Mall in the house tonight. They just came from off tour, and they want to tell you a little story about where they come from.
That whole thing really started because we went to Mr. Magic to try to get a deal. We wanted to be down with the Juice Crew. He listened to our tape and told us pretty much it's not all that. And Marley and Shan and Shantae and Biz and everybody was putting out great music, and we felt this.
So you think that hip-hop had its start out in Queensbridge? If you pop that junk up in the Bronx, you might not live, cause you're in South Bronx.
We used to go around and do these battles all over the country, and it was like looking forward to every other show. What we gonna do next? What we gonna do next? And well, and as a matter of fact, that was really like a turning point in hip-hop. Hip-hop was like dwindling then, and then all of a sudden it was like controversy was cool, but that was like, that South Bronx, Queens thing was like over the board then.
By people trying to prove they was better than the next people. That's how hip-hop grew. That's how you perfected the art of rhyming and delivery and stuff like that.
Yo, DMD. Yeah, what's up, man? There go that girl they call Roxanne. She's all stuck up. Why you say that? Cause you wouldn't give a guy like me no rap. Man, she was walking down the street, so I said, hello, I'm Kango from your TFO. And she so, I said, so, baby, don't you know I can sing, rap, dance in just one show.
In our situation, as far as being a battle, you know, having this battle record or dissing whatever, I don't understand that as far as Roxanne. In our song, what we said is, no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't get this young lady. She was dissing us.
I thought I had it in the palm of my hand, but man, oh man, if I was grand, I'd bang Roxanne. Roxanne, can't you understand? Roxanne, I wanna be your man.
Roxanne, the girl on the song, was somebody we made up. There was no such person, but the minute the record came out, trust me, there was a whole bunch of Roxannes.
Why'd you have to make a record about me? The Rosanne.
The reason why I wound up making Roxanne's Revenge is because I didn't have nothing else to rap about at that time. It was like, that was like the biggest hit, and the beat was like so simple, and I knew automatically I could make up anything to this beat. You know, who could not rhyme off a big beat? It would have to be like someone, like some total idiot that could not rhyme off a big beat. So you heard boom, boom, bah, boom, boom, bah. I said, oh yeah, I can do that.
TFO2, you know what you can do? Let me tell y'all one for me, and then I'll tell y'all one for you.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, I know Kango, and I know this one, and I know that one. I didn't even have no idea of what they look like.
Yeah, I am fly, and you must admit, but everybody knows I don't go for it. So if you're trying to be cute and you're trying to be fun, you need to cut it out because it's all in your mind.
Our beef with Shantae was real. We always went on stage and went at it. She'd go on before us, diss us. We'd go on after her and diss her.
Y'all heard of Shantae, man? Let me tell you, we don't know the.
I had spies, and I'd say, look, so I could sabotage this show and make sure that it really, really goes totally messed up. I want to make sure that they really look whack. Go find out what they wore. Come back and tell me exactly what they had on. Go unplug a turntable. Go, you know, I mean, that's really how bad it was.
Can't go if I can drug for your infection. Run for protection, here's the injection.
Having the hit and trying to compete with it was strenuous. No matter what you do, they'll say, well, that's a good song, but it's not a Roxanne. We decided not to compete with it. We went into doing other things.
Live on stage.
By the time I was 17, I had everything, house, car, even child. And it was like, okay, what else can I possibly have now that I didn't have before? And then it started kicking in, a life. I never got a chance to have a life. Yay! Yay! I'm a mom, twice over, and I'm a psychologist now.
I've been a manager, a vocal arranger, a vocalist. I've done a lot of jingles for Hot 97. That's the #1 station in New York City, hip hop. Come on, girl, you can do it. There you go, knock 'em over.
97, 97, hit me with that.
I didn't have a relationship with UTFO until 95, and we're talking 11 years after sharing one of the biggest hip-hop hits ever.
We spent years as enemies, but we're real good friends now. She sparked the whole Roxanne phenomenon.
I love leaving a legend. It's like, oh, okay, fine. You know, people bring it up like, oh, Roxanne Shante, you were my favorite. Yeah, I remember you, and I like that.
I remember when I first heard Run DMC, when I heard Suck MCs, that's when I knew the times was changing. It was like, out of here, you know what I'm saying? It was like,
rap over, and we didn't want to rap over disco because disco was hot back in the 80s, the end of beginning of the 80s and 79. So we were scratching up old rock records like Billy Squier, Big Beat, or Walk This Way, you know, from Aerosmith.
Rolling Stones.
And we never even knew what the vocals said on Walk This Way like people thought. It was important to keep the beginning of the record flowing before they start screaming. We didn't know what the hell was going on when they start screaming. We didn't know what they were saying or nothing. But then Rick Rubin said when we was making Walk This Way, let's make this record over.
We need to make it with them.
And we was upset because we went in D's basement and didn't know what he was saying.
We thought they were trying to ruin us.
But we complied with him and put it out and it went through the roof. But it wasn't something that we wanted to do like the way they wanted to do it. We wanted to just rap over the beat and the guitar riff.
Like we did in the park right here.
Yo! We used to have house parties back in the days and not sophisticated DJ equipment, just one turntable, right, attached to the receiver with the plastic thing, okay? We had two of those, and we would turn one up and turn one down. That's what we was DJing.
The DJ is extremely important, not because I'm a DJ, but it's just that the DJ is like the band leader. He sets the tempo, he sets the pace. That's the way it was designed. That's the way it always has been. The missing element was to be able to take these breaks, the place where the artist got a soul, whether it be the drummer or the bass. A lot of times these sections were too short. They were like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And I felt that was unjustly to the record because anything after that was the whack part. So I had to come up with a way to continuously take the sections and repeat them over and over and over again. So I was kind of like a human sampler.
We took the, those small sections of the records and cut it back and forth and extended it to like maybe a 15, 20-minute segment, and in turn the rappers would just rap over it. So that's where, we got the term, rapping over the various beats. It was like, just like the natives playing on the drums, but we found our own drums to play with and we call them turntables.
Grandmaster Flash actually made The Adventures of Grandmaster Flash and the Wheels of Steel is the first time you heard a record on a record. That was brilliant. Guys were rapping over, scratching and over the record itself heavily for 2.5 to 3 years. When they moved into instruments, it was cute, but it really couldn't cover the aspect of what, people were doing.
When we first started, we were making records with live drummers, live bass players, live musicians.
Most of the groups back in the day were using bands.
Yeah, they were using bands.
Which they actually were trying to make it sound like probably a sample.
Our knowledge of how to do music and how to make music grew as we went along, so the music advanced to different stages.
No matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now.
The bands, faded out and more, studio equipment came into effect. Then we came into the drum machine era.
Because it really started with the rolling drum machine with Bambaataa on Planet Rock, who had taken Kraftwerk's Trans-Europe Express and included it with synthesizers. They went from band to beat machine like the DMX and the Linn drum, and then by the time in 84 and 85 it was this drum machine, maybe some scratch, but the big sound.
When I heard Suck MCs, that's when I knew the times was changing, because that was just a beat. There was no music, there was no nothing, it was just boom. It was like out of here, you know what I'm saying? It was like, damn.
It seemed like they brought the streets to the record to me. Because that Sucker MC sound like they was actually in a park rhyming on the mic to me, you know, and they really brought the streets to vinyl.
Jam Master J, Run DMC.
It was Jam Master J, which was by Run DMC, had them scratch up part of this record called Scratching by the Magic Disco Band, and he was hearing a record again on a record. So this kind of led up to the sampling craze, and then when sampling really stepped up into the zone with the emulator, you talking about a real key person to really step up in that realm was Marley Marl. Marley Marl would actually take sampled bits and pieces of a particular original old dusty sound, and he took it and made his own thing, which I think was an inspiration to a lot of people to go into those records and come up with loops. The technology of the sampling equipment in the mid-1980s helped people like Marley Marl and therefore us out.
Hey, yo, Chuck, I think we take it short. Show this is Cold Medina, man. Come on, kick it. Terminator.
When we came out, every cut was like James Brown, you know?
Yeah.
Every cut.
Sample. Everybody was sampling. When they came out with samplers, you know, that just helped hip-hoppers out even more because most hip-hoppers back in the day couldn't afford to get a band and do all that stuff. So when sampling came out, it had made rappers able to, you know, be creative by themselves.
We added a trend, we had the singing with it. It was a faster pace. Right after the It Takes Two came out, it seemed like everybody just came out with somebody singing as a hook, and the beats got faster, you know. So, you know, hip-hop changed then, you know, to a faster pace.
Wow. Somebody had given me that track, and that guitar part sounded like it was saying Wild Thing to me. I probably had like too many beers that night. I took that, went home, wrote a song. It was a little bit more explicit probably, so they went over to Marvin, who was Young MC, and he came up with the other verses and put it together, and we just came up with a hit. It was all luck, I'm telling you, it was luck.
I didn't know what to say. I was hanging by a string. She said, hey, you too, I was once like you, and I like to do the wild thing.
It helped hip-hop a lot by crossing over. Those songs, including Funky Cold Medina, kind of introduced hip-hop to a lot of people. You know, different hip-hop, but I think the hip-hop world was upset that most of the jams kind of just stayed underground, and all of a sudden, boom, you know, here's this record, you know, with a totally kind of like different style than the rest of the songs, and a little bit more up-tempo.
Funky Cold Medina.
You know, come on. Come on. I had so much fun. I did so many shows off of those records. It was like, wow, like almost a decade ago, you know? And I was young, and I was more feisty, and I was, you know, really into just being crazy. You know, here we are a decade later almost. I'm, you know, more mature now. I'm a single parent. I just burnt myself out, I guess, you know what I'm saying, young. So I'm giving myself a chance to rest for a little while. And being behind the scenes gives me that chance. The animation came through because of my voice. I wanted to be in a cartoon. What type of character could I play? I was always a heavy-set guy, and my eyes are like always kind of sad, so I always got called this big teddy bear. So I figured I would play a teddy bear.
Yo, I thought you was out of that smothering phase. Oh, heck, what's a bear hug between friends?
See, Greater Than All, it's a fat cartoon. There are no other cartoons that just play music non-stop all the way through. We try to keep it real, you know, and enjoyable.
Head through the limo, parked outside, making money in the back while I'm saying it's wrong. Hey, you thought it was weak, didn't know it was strong. I hate to disappoint you, I got it going on.
One thing that kind of left me a little bit aside is that people really didn't get an opportunity to really see how I really rap. People really think that Wild Thing and Funky Cold Medina are my styles of rap. They're not. And that's kind of like one of the biggest reasons why I never had a chance to come back. A lot of people always say, yo, Tone, you know, you need to come over here and flip this and flip that. It sounds tight. But I'm like, you know, nobody want to hear Tone Loc, you know what I'm saying, busting no rhymes. You know, we heard Tone already. It's time to move on, you know what I'm saying, and let these younger cats in. And I'm cool with that.
in the 80s, it was real cool. The thing that I liked the most was doing shows. It was so much fun to be able to go out on stage, just rock, drop the beat, rock, everybody have a good time.
You can't even describe the energy at a rap concert in the mid-'80s. One of my favorite videos in the 80s was Houdini's The Freaks Come Out at Night. It showed the fervor and just the energy in the arena. It was like this thing was spreading like wildfire, and it was like incredible because every seat was filled. Everybody felt safe, and that was just amazing that rap would be on tour, filling arenas, and having a whole bunch of people go, ah!
It's like that, and that's the way it is!
The first concert that I've ever gone to was the Raising Hell tour with Run DMC, LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys, Houdini. That was probably the biggest achievement for hip-hop, period.
Hell, what the hell gonna rock the road? While you walked up, not putting to this, well, rock the bell!
Back then, you know, it's when brothers really had a love for it, and they would focus in on their rhymes and also on their stage shows. You seen cats coming on stage doing some amazing stuff, you know, that you just wouldn't expect to see from a rapper.
Kane would come out, he had a bathtub. I think this thing was a limo size. They pushing this thing, right? Kane's in there, he's in Speedos. Girls are screaming, bah! Ah! He turns around, gets his sneakers, and purposely turns his back to the crowd and bends over. Classic hip hop moment.
We got some of the greatest rappers on this tour. Down with the posse, Russell Russ. We got MCs like Run. We got Chuck D. We got Rack B. We got Rakim. You know what I'm saying? We got DJ Hurricane.
That's right, boy. There was so many rappers that would go out on one bill, and it was all done in fun.
Being on tour with Salt and Pepper, Kid and Play, UTFO, Fat Boy.
You shared the same bus.
You shared a bus
with Heavy D in the voice.
Those are the only guys that really know what Salt and Pepper look like in the morning.
We was doing things like having balloon fights, buying water guns. 20 people on a 15-passenger bus, just sleeping wherever you could, in the middle of the aisle, on the floor, on the chair, just going for like months.
You can go anywhere, play anywhere. People were really happy to see you come into their town. You know, I wasn't none of this East Coast, West Coast. It was just, we were all just rappers.
Everybody, Beastie Boys, LL Cool J,
walk this way.
Rock with us.
Pump up the volume, pump up the...
When we was touring back then, we was selling out Philly 2 nights in a row. It was bugged out for me. What am I doing out here playing for 20,000 people every night? It's just 2 turntables, a mixer, and 3 microphones. It was mad fun. It was unbelievable for me and Jay. We're getting a room. We used to share rooms and just couldn't go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? We just sit up all night just talking and talking and talking because it was so exciting.
We never stopped touring. We're still touring.
We never stopped touring since
the
day we came
venues are
up.
smaller, but Run DMC still tours.
I caught like an end of an era where I toured with a lot of different groups. Now a lot of them don't get a chance to really get these tours without being on Lollapalooza or, you know, something like that with other singing groups, you know what I mean, to kind of balance out the crowd.
The promoters didn't have to pay all these astronomical fees and premiums for insurance, so they would book the rap acts in major arenas around the country. Now, times have changed. Some of the groups are a little bit more angry. Some of the music is a little more violent. Thus, the audience of the tracks is the same. So in turn, can't book the big arenas, can't get the big dates.
In the 90s, one of the problems in the rap game is that the respect was lost. And I think that another problem was that money came into play, which is a good thing, but I just think that they will go to any lengths to get it. And the disrespect became high.
And right now, it's the frame of mind where this rapper can't coexist with that rapper. East Coast can't exist with West Coast. And of course we can. It's a damn near $1 billion business. Of course we can.
I like to see the fun brought back into the culture. Too much negativity, too many people mad for nothing. You got people making millions of dollars mad.
Pump up the volume, pump up the volume.
The attitudes are even more aggressive and even greater, and the poets are even greater than they were then. But I think rap could probably borrow some of the ideas musically that the 80s had, the spirit that the producers of the 80s had.
There's songs from the 80s that when you throw on, people lose their mind. I mean, lose their mind. That's when you're playing with a classic. And the only time I've seen that in rap was that era.
Say the hip, hop, the hip into the hip of the hip, hip, but hopper you don't stop, or rock it to the bang, bang. You can say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Skip it and we rock, a Scooby-Doo. Guess what? America, we love you.
80s hip hop was all love. It was all love back then. It was peace. Wasn't nobody getting beat up. Wasn't nobody getting killed.
Hip hop needs to bring back the element of just party. Just fun. Let's don't take it so serious. This is music. We built this because we don't have tennis courts and golf courses. We can't get into Studio 54. We got to do our own partying. And that was the essence, and that's when it was pure, and I think we need to go back to that.
Way back. R-A-W.
Sorry, won't beat. How y'all feel out there?
Yeah. Brothers and sisters. You're about to witness something you've never witnessed before. Like this, y'all. This,